If you haven't had to have less time when speaking on stage yet, get ready because it's coming. What's up, guys? This is Phillip Sessions, your public speaking and communication coach, talking to you today about how to modify your speech in order to make sure that you have enough time in your presentation. So, if you have not been on a stage yet where you had the event host come up to you and say, "Hey, Phillip, by the way, I know we were supposed to give you 45 minutes, but we need you to go down to 35 minutes." And if you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, crap, I don't think I could do that," then you need to listen up to today's episode because I'm going to tell you exactly what I do to help me be able to shorten the length of my speech down so I can fit within the different time frames. And no, this is not perfect because you're most likely going to get told this within the 30 minutes before you go up to speak, maybe even less than that. And you just got to figure it out as you go. So it's not that it's a perfect science here, but this will help you and give you the flexibility within your presentation to be able to present and speak in the time that you are now given. Because hopefully we are all ready for that 45 minutes. So we're just going to use the same example of 45 minutes. You had 45 minutes, and I'm making a lot of assumptions here, which we know what that does to us. Don't hold me to that, but we're making some assumptions that you have your speech prepared. You know your structure to your speech. And just to kind of recap that real quick, we have the opener, we have the body with our main points, with stories within those main points, and then we have our close. And so if you have followed along with the podcast here, if you've actually bought the digital course, which by the way, it is out now, you should definitely check it out. It's going to be great to help you with your presentation skills. So go listen to that, go watch all of that. But if you're here, you've already presented before, then let's get into this. So when it comes to shortening the length of your presentation down, and this is why I like to do the structure within the body, our opener, our close, those need to be the same. You don't really want to change those. But what you can do and what you need to do and should do is shorten the body of your presentation. But Phillip, how do I do that? It's crazy. I have so much information. Every single thing in here is so important. And people are going to think that I skipped over stuff if I change everything up. No, not everything is important. I bet you'll find out that, you know what, this isn't important. And right away, throw it out, throw it out. You get ready to move somewhere and you have all these things in your house. And guess what starts happening? Everything was important. Everything was in the house. But now you're downsizing to a smaller house. And you're like, you know what? I don't need that. Oh, I don't need that. Oh, I don't need that. All of a sudden, all these things can go away and they're not necessary anymore. Although 2 weeks ago, before you were moving out and downsizing, you thought they were important. They had to be in the house, but now all of a sudden they don't have to be. And it's the same way that's going to happen with your speech. So, what are the things that we throw out? So, what I like to do is come up with 3 main ideas that support my overarching theme for my presentation. And within those 3 points, I will have stories for each one. And now, if I have multiple stories for each one, I may throw out a whole story altogether from one of those points, maybe all of them. If you're only getting cut down 10 minutes, you probably still can keep in all but one story, perhaps. Maybe you have to do 2. It really just depends on your timing. But really taking out the stories in your presentation is what you can do to help cut down on the time when you're told, hey, you got less time than you had before. Or you keep all the stories in and you don't go into as many details on those stories. So you can kind of do one of 2 things: take out a story or shorten every single story that you have to be able to help you give back the 10 minutes to the event host. And the cool thing about doing this is that you will get so much credit with that event host and the event coordinator that it's ridiculous what'll happen. But if you make it happen for them, if you help them stay on track, you are a winner in their book, and they're going to want to keep you coming around, especially if you don't complain. So do not complain, whatever you do. I should have said that at the beginning, but do not complain when they come to you and say, you got less time. They're trying to make things work, and they're looking to you to be the closer for them that's just going to execute. No questions asked. All right, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. I'll get us back on time. I can take care of it. And when you become that person that's the go-to that can take care of things that can be within their time frame, event hosts are going to want you on their stages more. So this is really just a great thing for you. But in order to reduce that time, you reduce the details in all the stories you have or several of the stories that you're sharing, or you take out a story altogether. And so the flip side to this, if they're like, hey, look, we're way ahead of schedule. Is there any way? And I promise you, this is never really going to happen. I don't think I've really heard of anybody besides somebody that's literally supposed to be a time filler between to say, hey, we need you to spend more time on this. And usually what will happen is the MC will handle this. So if you're an MC, this will work better for you. But if you're a speaker, they typically don't give speakers extra time because most of them are already paid anyways, but they may ask you to go extra time. And that could be your contract too, or maybe you can't. But let's just throw all the assumptions that you need to get paid more and this, that, and the other. We're just going to assume you're going to be a nice person and you're going to help the event host out by speaking for a longer time. So what can you do? The exact opposite of what you did to reduce your time. Start adding in more details into your story. Maybe add some more stories. I would stick with just the details myself personally, really for both of them. I probably would just take details out to reduce time, add in details to expand the time, and just depends on how much time I'm really needing or to take away or add. That's where I may actually chop or add a completely new story to that. But really just adding in the details or taking away is how you can modify the time that you are speaking for. So if you ever get in that situation where the event host or the event coordinator or the MC or somebody that is in charge of that event comes up to you and says, Phillip, guess what? I know I told you 45 minutes, but I need you to speak for only 35 minutes or 30 or 20. I've had clients that have had that happen to them. Look, thankfully, it hasn't personally happened to me where I've had to cut that much out. But I've had clients and friends that are speakers have that happen where they went from 45-minute speech down to a 20-minute speech. What do you do there? You cut out whole stories or you cut out the details of the story. Those are the two things that you can do in order to reduce the amount of time that you have to speak on stage. And now this is not going to be perfect, but the closer you can get to doing that, the better off you're going to be. But that's how you will reduce the time, is by cutting out a whole story or taking out the details on those stories. But make sure that you are being flexible for the event host, and that will help you get on more stages. And that's a part of public speaking. Being a public speaker, you have to be flexible and you have to adjust as the situation occurs. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but if it does, those are the two things that you can do to help you reduce or add time to your speech.